Welcome back to another episode of the Stoic Trading Psychology Podcast. My name is Kevin, everybody. I go by FX Telepath on YouTube. I'm sure most of you guys are here from my YouTube channel. I want to welcome you to my podcast. And if you guys have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, Stoic Trading Psychology Podcast on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and watch the video formats of these podcasts as well. And as always, I appreciate a 5-star review if you are liking these podcasts on whatever streaming platform you're using. It helps get this message out to some of the beginner traders who are the most vulnerable people to get kind of scammed into these high course, high ticket trading sales. And just a quick note, so today's podcast is about dealing with a losing streak. This past month of September so far hasn't been too great in the markets. I'm not sure why, but it's just, I felt like this was a great topic based on the past couple weeks of trading. I thought it was a great topic, especially with some of the members in the group kind of struggling, and that's part of reality, and we're going to be breaking that down today. But on topic of what I was just talking about, how getting this podcast out to the beginner traders is very, very helpful. The reason is because they are getting scammed left and right with crazy high price courses and discords and all that stuff. And look, I'm not saying that what's in these courses and discords isn't good information. It probably is decent, I'm going to imagine. Because, again, it's probably decent. The issue lies within the fact that they are charging the price that they are charging. It is astronomical, especially considering you can completely learn a strategy, but if you don't have that discipline, if you're not a disciplined person in general, that strategy might not work. I've talked about it before, how I could give everybody signals in my group, in my Discord group. I don't give signals in my Discord group, but I could literally tell you, I need you guys to buy at $15 and sell at $14 for your stop loss, and then your take profit, let's say it's at 20. Well, some people, price might be going to their stop loss and they might remove it. And then next thing you know, I'm out of the trade. I took my reasonable expected loss in a long expected chain of trades. We are expecting losing trades. And then they remove their stop loss, and now they're even more debt to that trade, and they're in more red than they really should be. Another example is price could go to their take profit, or we're getting close to the take profit, and maybe instead of looking for the 5-1, maybe they only go for the 3-1 because they're scared, and then I let the trade play out, and I get that 5-1 trade. That's going to make a difference later on. So if you don't have that psychological edge, you're really not. It's very difficult to be successful in trading. And another issue lies within everybody thinks, based on the thumbnails they see on YouTube and the BS that they're given and fed, well, I'm going to have an 80% win rate with a 4-to-1 risk to reward ratio. So I don't really need trading psychology because I'm going to be making so much money. It's like, okay, I'm still going to lose, but it's like, whatever. The next trade's obviously going to be a winner because have such a and if it's not, whatever, I'm going to make so much money. Like, you know what I mean? So that also plays into it, where the crazy, unrealistic expectations that they have, which was my last podcast, so make sure you guys watch those. So yeah, moving on to what the reason I'm bringing this up, is because literally every day, maybe not every day, maybe every other day or every 3 days, I get a DM in my Instagram, and it's somebody as soon as I can tell what they are asking now, basically it's this: hey, I like your courses and your YouTube video and all that stuff. Do you offer 1-to-1 high ticket sales? And it's like, no, I don't. I actually have thought about bringing back 1-to-1s, and I might do that. The issue is, like, it is a lot of my time, and I'd have to schedule it. So, like, and again, I'm going to be charging for that, and it is going to be more if I do. However, these guys are saying you need to charge like $5,000 for like a 1 month session where you do 4 sessions, so like one a week, like $3,000 to $5,000. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, that's absolutely insane. Like, I definitely think it should be more expensive than just a typical membership where you join a Discord, because it's very personal, right? And I definitely agree with that. However, charging I've even seen, they said, yeah, you could charge anywhere between $8,000 to $10,000 for these high ticket sales. And it's like, that is absolutely insane, and it's borderline criminal behavior in my opinion. So the reason I'm saying to share this is because these people, these newer traders, are very vulnerable to that kind of thing. And as somebody who runs a membership, and obviously I do charge, it's that everybody knows that it's not I'm not hiding that. Some people are listening to this are in my group, and I appreciate everyone of you, and I'm sure you guys are learning a lot, and I get a lot of positive feedback. So anyways, I'm just blabbering on. We're going to move into the topic of the podcast, which again is dealing with losing streaks in trading. Had a little bit of one recently, and it's over now. And every time it happens, basically it's pretty easy to get a losing streak right off the hop when you start trading. So every losing streak becomes easier in theory if you stick to if you stick to your trading plan. So what this recent losing streak I went on, it wasn't a big deal. I wasn't concerned. The only reason I was a little bit concerned about it is because I have a newer family. So my life has definitely changed this past year, just 2025, and I just find I'm missing some more trades than I usually would. So the only thing that's worrying me is am I going to be able to take all of these trades, right? So that's what's worrying me a little bit, but at the end of the day, that has nothing to do with the strategy or I guess it is psychological, but it's just something new. So that's something that I'm working with for my own trading psychology, and I'm not acting like I've mastered this, guys, at all. Trading psychology, not even definitely a little bit, but not even in your life, it's going to change, right? You can have a kid, a death of a loved one, whatever, and you might just start taking care of your parents, where you have less time, and that's going to affect your trading. And so it's always an evolving thing. So I have a couple points here regarding the topic. So we need to recognize losing streaks as a statistical inevitability, not a reflection of your worth. So again, we are expecting to lose, and it's a little bit more easier said than done to just go in before. You don't want to be super negative, but you also have to, every trade, it's a good habit to, and I'm not saying I do this anymore, but if you're just starting out, you might want to do this. Every time you place a trade, right as you click it, just have a little mantra that you say, I can lose this trade. This trade can be a losing trade, and that does not matter in the long string of trades. I'm going to let my risk reward play out in the long run, and this individual trade does not matter. Whatever you want to say, repeat that to yourself, and just remind yourself. I've said before, if you're on your way to work and you're in the car and you say out loud, this is going to be a terrible day. This day is going to suck. I do not want to go to work. I hate being at work. It's going to be a tough day. I've been there. I've done it many times. It's going to be a tough day, but if you go to work, I'm not saying that you have to be positive and saying, I can't wait to get to work, but maybe just don't speak that into existence. I personally believe speaking things into existence is real. Now, obviously not, I'm not going to say, I wish that this trade worked, and that doesn't matter, but I'm saying it can affect your psychology. So it's just, maybe it's a good thing to say as you're placing the trade, just reminding everybody that it is completely normal to lose. Do not get sucked in by all the hype and the thumbnails of, wow, she turned this much money into that, or he turned this much money into that. It's laughable. We need to shift focus from outcome to process, especially in the beginning. If you've been trading for a year and everything's going great, then all of a sudden the next year it's you have a unexpected drawdown, as in it's way above your average, then maybe there's something in your, maybe that outcome is actually telling you something. But when I say shift focus from outcome to process, this is more for the beginner traders when they first start getting into things. Do not worry if it's a losing trade. You just need to execute, and we need to work on discipline, which is why I started this podcast, guys. I have all the technical analysis on my YouTube channel, and this podcast is basically the discipline, psychological aspect of the trading. So again, we want to focus on our process, not the outcome at first, but eventually that outcome will matter, obviously. If you've back tested a system, 50 trades or whatever, and you want to start trading it live, that's fine if it worked out for you. And then maybe, when you start trading that live, if your risk reward is on, like if you're only looking for like a 1-to-1 for this setup, for example, and like you've lost 7-8 trades in a row, that outcome, like that's when we have to be aware of that outcome is actually telling you something. That's when we shift focus from process to outcome, because then that outcome is not going too good. Now we have to actually go back to the process and understand if we need to change something. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, any questions, you guys can just send me a message on Instagram or Discord, whatever, about this trading psychology stuff. So another thing we can do is we can use smaller position sizes to reduce emotional pressure and preserve capital. What I don't like to see is this. So let's say you have, and I'm guilty of this. This is why I'm speaking from experience, where you go on a losing streak and then you take this advice of using a smaller position size, and then you basically, the next trade you take, obviously you risk 0.5% or whatever you were doing. You risk 0.5% and 1% because you're in a drawdown and you just want to deal with your emotions. And then obviously that next trade is like the crazy winning trade where you're bumping your stop loss up and you're in your 3-to-1, 2-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1 trade turns into like a 6-to-7 one. That's happened to me so many times. And of course, that's when, that was when you risked less, which sucks. And then what I don't want to see is if that happens, is just to immediately go back to the 1%. Even if, let's say, the next trade's a loser and the next trade's a winner, you shouldn't go back to that 1%. You should be doing that for at least another 10 trades, depending on how many trades you're getting, right? But I think that if you're going to use the smaller position size to reduce the emotional pressure, I think that you need to do it for a little bit. I don't think that it's good to risk less, and then if you get a winning trade right away, to go back to that 1%. I think you need to stick to that a little bit to just kind of recoup and get that psychology back up, and kind of just get that, just without that extra risk and that emotional pressure, just kind of get that psychology back up. So again, hopefully that makes sense. I've done it before where the next trade's that winning trade, then I go back to risking the whole percent, and then a couple more losing trades. It's like, oh my God, right? So that has happened before. And again, it's good to risk smaller, especially in the beginning, right? If you are testing things out and you just start getting trading, you should be risking a small amount. Everybody talks about 1% risk, and that's fantastic. I think I personally think 1%. If you don't know what you're doing, and you're not a professional trader and you haven't been trading for years like myself, for me personally, like I can feel comfortable risking 2% on some really nice setups. So 2% is like the max, really. But like everyone talks about 1%, but if you just start trading, I don't think there's anything wrong with risking like 1/4%. There really isn't, especially if you just are getting into it. There's really no need to risk the whole 1%. People that do risk the whole 1%, or they're risking the 5%, it's because they believe the hype of you're going to flip an account and you're going to grow your account from $500 to $500,000. They believe that, and that's why they take these excessive risks. And it's just not the case. I've always talked about it. In order to do this, guys, you need to have a good paying job so you can fund your trading account, and you need to have multiple sources of income. I say it many, many times. Can you trade for a living solely? Like, the thing that bothers me too is I see these people, they say, I'm a full-time trader, and they literally have a Discord and that they charge for. That's not full-time trading. Okay? I'm not saying I'm a full-time trader. I do trade, obviously, but I do a lot of things. So it's not. And again, I don't really talk too much about my personal life, except for when it affects like the meetings and all that stuff that we do. But yeah, anyways, I'm just going off on a tangent. But you're not a full-time trader if you have any other source of income. I mean, if let's say let's say you trade full time, and like maybe you invest and your dividends equal to like $5,000 a year or something, that's not really enough income to say that you're not a full-time trader. So I'm sure they exist. And it's not even really the best thing anyways. Like, we should be trying, we all want to be entrepreneurs here, I'm thinking, like, so we should all be trying to make as much money as possible in any aspect of your life, whether it's businesses, leveling up your skills so you can get a better job, right? And then trading will allow you to take time off from that job, or work less hours just in general, or maybe quit one day because maybe you invested so much money that your dividend income is actually enough to sustain it yourself, right? So that's kind of the mindset that I have, and I know it's not super common, but I don't care. I'm here to speak what I actually believe is true, and I'm not here to sell you guys some crazy dream. It's that stuff just absolutely makes me sick. But anyways, We need to journal each trade to find patterns. I don't really do this anymore, to be honest, because I've been trading for a while. But I definitely did it first. Oh my God, I had so many like files on my computer and this and that and notes and all this stuff. I kind of want to go back and see if I can't find some of that stuff. But so yeah, we need to journal each trade to find the patterns, but avoid over adjusting your system mid streak. That's a huge factor. I personally think, let's say you backtest a system, a specific trading entry, whatever it is, does not matter. Doesn't even have to be supply and demand trading. Let's say you backtest it, you start trading live, and then you take 50 trades. So let's say in the backtesting session, no, you know what, never mind. So you take 50 trades after you backtested, and like let's say you're down 1%. That's not bad, actually. And I mean, it's not great. However, you're close to break even. So that all that might be is just a little adjustment. You know, maybe it's you gotta maybe buy. It's whatever your journal. You basically make a bunch of columns, right, for each trade, and have different things in those columns of different criteria, and then you mark those down, and then you can come, and then from there you can help find your edge, so that you can basically adjust that system to maybe just like one little tweak can change it. Maybe you realize like maybe I actually need to be looking for 2-to-1s. I will lose on average maybe 6 to 8 more trades over 100 trades or 50 trades. However, that extra 1% I'm going for, maybe instead of looking for 1-to-1s, I'm looking for 2-to-1s. Maybe, just maybe, that extra 1% is actually going to put you over give you that edge to be profitable. So that's coming from experience. But yeah, we don't want to just be doing crazy adjustments. Like you don't want to be trading supply and demand, and then all of a sudden just like, oh, I'm going to go to support and resistance now because it's not working. We need to let our systems kind of play out. And I always say like 30 to 50 trades is like a good concept of how good a system is. Again, if you're looking for 1-to-1 trades and you get like a 10 trade losing streak, the system's not working out. It could just be a crazy, once in a lifetime crazy drawdown. That's possible as well. But more than unlikely. So another thing we can do is revisit our trading plan to confirm you're still aligned with your edge. A lot of times it's possible that maybe there's something you're doing that's different. For example, this isn't something that I look at, but like for example, some people look at how price comes back into your zone. So some people don't like an aggressive push back in, and some people like a less aggressive, whatever. I personally don't really care too much. But maybe that was your edge in the back testing. You're like, I like to kind of watch when price comes back into it. Make sure it's not one massive red candle or green candle. And then maybe that was working for you in your back testing session. Maybe that's part of your rules. But then as you're trading, like maybe your trading is going good for a month, and then all of a sudden things start to go a little south. You need to ask yourself, okay, is this just part of a loss in a big series of trades, or is something different here? And then if you revisit our trading plan, just to confirm that you're doing everything that you're doing. So it's always good to just confirm with your written down rules or in your plan that you have. And it's possible, like even if you keep trading, your rules can actually be a little bit more loose. So when I not first started trading, but like midway through my trading journey, I really like to trade with the higher time frame trend. I was doing this day trading thing. That wasn't really day trading. I was looking for 15-minute zones and 5-minute zones. However, actually, I forget it was 15 or 5. I think it was 5 because I was looking at the 1 hour as a higher time frame. I'm not going to get into detail, but I would have wider stops so that it wouldn't be like a day. It's hard to explain. It's almost like when you look for a 15-minute confirmation in a whole 4-hour zone, and then you get it, but then you put your stop under the whole 4-hour zone. It's kind of something like that. I'm not going to get into detail, but anyway, I totally lost my train of thought. But anyways, we need to always revisit our plan to confirm that we are aligned with the edge that we have back tested. Another thing we do is practice stoic detachment. We need to control our risk. We need to accept the uncertainty and release what's outside of our control. I get so many messages. Do you think if price breaks this trend line, Kevin, what do you think is going to happen? I don't know. I wish I knew. What do you think is going to happen with the NFP news, Kevin? Like, man, if I did, I'd be a billionaire because I would just bet everything I had on that. So if I knew what price was going to do when it breaks the trend line, if I knew if price was going to pull back to that zone, then I wouldn't even be trading at that zone. I would just be trading the pull back down to the zone. And then, you know what I mean? So it's like, these are beginner questions, and it's fine, but it's we need to realize what's out of our control. If your setup's there, it's there. I don't worry about, like, I've had orders in the market for like days, weeks, even, like when you're trading a 4 hour zone. Eventually it gets kind of old, and it gets older, and then you can pull your order. But at no point am I worrying if price is going to pull back into that zone or not. And again, that all ties into having multiple streams of income, because the only way you're going to be worrying is if you're like, well, I hope price pulls back because I need to get that trading set up, right? So again, it all kind of ties into setting ourselves up right to get that trading success. I have a great podcast called The 5 Rules to Trading Success, and I highly recommend that one. Very good. We need to take breaks if emotions are clouding judgment. If you are going through a 5, whatever really ticks you off, it could be 3 trades in a row, it could be 10. If you are going through that losing streak and you are getting very angry or getting very emotional and getting very upset, and you notice, even if you don't make stupid decisions, even if you notice that you just can't get out of that, you're just like, oh my God, I'm just so upset about it. Like, first of all, we need to work on that. But if you find yourself doing that, especially if you find yourself being upset and making poor trading decisions like revenge trading and stuff, you definitely need to take a break. So if your emotions are clouding your judgment, we need to take a break, because that's only going to lead to account destruction. And maybe not even account destruction, but maybe even you just take a couple of revenge trades, and now you're down maybe 4%, whatever, instead of that 1%. So that did not destroy your account, but now you're climbing up from the bottom, right? So it's not easy to do. It's not easy to do that. So we need to make sure we're taking a break. If you find yourself getting way too upset, you'll be forcing trades. If you're upset, you'll be revenge trading. It's literally just a recipe for disaster. And as far as how long, to take a break from, it's probably all like independent on you. That's why I always say know yourself. I've talked about it before. I like working out at home because I know myself. I know that the only way I'm going to stay consistent is if I have my home gym. So that's why I do that instead of going to the gym, because I know myself. So knowing yourself is how you master, it's nobody masters life, but it's knowing yourself is so important. So it's all about knowing yourself. And if you know that if you only take one day off, you're still going to be ticked off, then maybe take more days off. I think like a week is completely fine. The market's pretty much always going to be here, so there's really no issue with taking a break, even if it's a month, right? It's whatever. I think it's even fine taking a month off if you're doing good. Just to take a month off to just kind of get clarity. It's weird. I've got better at golf this year, and I've been playing less. I don't know how. It's like for some reason when you step away and you come back, it's sometimes you're just like better. Another great example is the game Rocket League. I don't play video games anymore. I play like Nintendo Switch with my friends sometimes, like the golf game, because we like golfing. That's it. But I was playing Rocket League for a little bit, maybe like a year ago. Before that, just with some buddies every now and then. But I was pretty good. And it was weird. I would like play for a while. I would get pretty good. And then, you take like a 2-month break or a 3-month break. And then I come back and it's, of course, you're rusty. But it's like riding a bike, and then you get back into it. And then all of a sudden, it's like, so once I knock that rust off, it's like, not only am I back to how I was, I'm like a little bit better. And it's like, I don't know if it's just like, I don't know what that is. It's something I've noticed. And it might be something that happens with trading too. I personally haven't really taken a break like that out of like anger or just emotions. I've definitely taken breaks for sure. Like when I go the last couple of years, I've been going away a couple times. So mostly just do the breakdown videos, and it's hard to take trades when you're out in the middle of a forest. But so yeah, again, we need to, if you know yourself and you know you need to take a break, just do it, because you don't want to be digging yourself a deeper hole. So we need to see the losing streaks as training for resilience. It's so much better to shape it at like that. Each loss is a practice in patience and humility. Life is just better when you look at it as you're being tested. Again, I don't want to get too personal here or anything, but the last couple years, maybe the last year and a half, I've really found God, and through my wife and just having a kid and everything. And I'm not trying to preach or anything, but to me, again, it could be all made up. I really don't know. I believe in it. I believe in God, and I personally find that life is easier and better when you just view everything as a test, right? It's literally just a test. And to me, that makes life beautiful. Instead of like maybe you take a 7 trade losing streak or a 6 trade losing streak, that's a test to making sure you're not getting frustrated, and maybe that next trade is going to be a winner. A great example happened to me on the golf course. So when I was a kid, I would get pretty upset. Definitely anger. I guess you could say I probably had anger issues when I was a kid, and which is fine. It's I was a kid. But as I'm older, like, so when I go this happened to me on the golf course. So when I'm going golfing, if I'm having a really good round where I'm like, ooh, I could like break my record score, and then like I hit a bad shot, like, I'm not going to say it on here, but I'll yell the F word. I'm not trying to swear because of YouTube and stuff. Like, I'll happily say the F word. I'm not trying to be that guy, but I just don't know for YouTube and podcasts. I don't know how that works. So, say the F word out loud, get mad at myself. Just like, damn, like shit, like just like get vocally, angry. Nothing crazy, but like definitely clearly lose my cool just for a second where, the people I'm golfing with can see, and I don't care. They're my buddies. I don't care. They get mad too. But my point is that you get mad. And then it was a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I shot my best score ever. It was a 79. And it was the second last hole. And I basically shot the ball, and I shanked. My drive was a bad shot. Got super lucky in the drive, and then I shanked my second shot. It went right into the water, and for some reason I said I'm not going to get angry, and I didn't. I literally made no reaction. I just kept thinking. I literally all I did was think, because I knew I was doing good enough to potentially beat my previous score and get my best score ever, maybe even break 80. So I'm like, okay, this is a par 5. I can still put this next shot on the green after my drop, and I can maybe hopefully get a bogey and just limit it to a +1 here. And that is literally what happened. I did not get mad. I did not even say the F word. Nobody knew I was upset. It was more just like, oh, bad shot, whatever. And that was like, not one of the first times, but like a very first time in my life where I like distinctively said, this is going back to like my new belief in God, where I'm like, okay, is this a test? So I'm like that conversation of, is this a test? That happened in my mind within like a half of a second after that bad shot. And I viewed it as that. And then I continued to play good golf. All right. Again, I bogeyed that hole, which isn't great, but it could have been way worse. I could have got really angry, but I just simply focused on the next shot or focus on the next trade and treat it as a test. So I don't know. I'm not trying to bring in religion or politics into this at all, and I won't be. But I do personally think that life just becomes better in general when you view everything as a test, whether it's trading related, life general related at all. Like, for example, when I first started reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, it was basically about becoming stoic. And again, I would get easily frustrated. And then started reading the book, and it just opened my eyes. And then it was funny. It was like literally the first week of reading that book where I'm like, okay, I'm going to read this book. I've heard it's good. I'm going to try to turn my life around a little bit here and just try to, get better at not reacting like that initially. And it's just so funny, man. It's like literally as soon as I read that book, I couldn't even make it. It's like there's so many times where it's like, wow, am I ever being tested right now? And it's like it's just easier to deal with it when you view it like that. It really truly is. And that's kind of where I want to leave it off to everybody. So I appreciate everybody tuning in to these podcasts. As always, make sure you go over to the YouTube channel for the podcast and subscribe to that. Trying to just, again, the reason is to get this out to the beginner traders who are unfortunately being flooded with borderline crazy information about what trading is really all about. Flipping accounts, all this crap. It just absolutely mind-boggling to me. And I'm trying to just make the space a little bit better as best as I can. And I was going to stop doing these podcasts, but I had so many people giving me so much good feedback on them, so I kind of feel like I have to do it now. So not that I like doing it, but I'm just saying. So I appreciate every one of you guys. And as always, I'll see everybody in the next podcast. Take care. Make sure you guys watch the other ones too. They're very, very good. All right. Cheers.